everyone, welcome back to the channel. The very first disclaimer is if I sound funny, I am once again sick. And if you hear creaking or stomping or any sort of strange sound, that is probably my upstairs neighbors. I move out of my apartment next week, so we won't have to deal with them very much longer, but I do apologize if you can hear them. You know, we got a lot of stuff going on this week and the next week and the week after that. And quite frankly, I think it's all just hitting me at once that, wow, it's happening. This is happening. So anyway, again, I apologize. I'm sick. I will cut out any sneezes or obvious sniffles or coughs. This is what you get when you have a niece that goes to daycare. If you have young kids in your life, you'll probably understand because you are probably sick a lot of the time too. But I guess the life update this week is, my storage unit comes on Friday. My birthday is Thursday. I also have a haircut on Friday, which is a big deal for me because I have not had my hair cut by another person probably since before college. I'm turning 24. So at least maybe since I was 18. I've been cutting my hair for a long time now, but that's because I usually just, it's straight. I know how to give myself a little bit of V. I know how to frame my face a little bit, but nothing fancy. But I'm kind of tired of my hair. I love that it's long. I love the length. That's not the issue. But it just has been feeling a little flat and a little dull. And I've been wanting to change it for about a year now. Been playing with cutting it to a shorter length. I usually hate it when I do that, so I have told all of my friends that if I ever told them I want to cut my hair to my shoulders again, to disown me, to tell me to stop, to yell at me, all of the things. So they've been doing that. But I settled on maybe something more dangerous. Bangs. Curtain bangs. So they'll grow out nicely and won't have an awkward face. And I think I'll do okay with those because, again, I already cut the front bits of my hair pretty short and it grows out impossibly fast. So if I hate the curtain bangs, they will not be there for long. But all the girlies I'm seeing on Pinterest and Instagram have them, and little Simsy got little curtain bangs cut up front. I think hers already grew out already too. I have a stream of hers on in the background I was watching in my sick sleeping and lounging. So they'll grow out very quickly, I know, if I hate them. But everyone has them. And then I also think I'm going to get some layers put in, which is a very odd thing for me to say as well. I used to hate layers as a kid. I do braid my hair quite a bit, so we will see how that goes, because that's my only concern is I braid my hair quite a bit, and usually when you have layers, you get the little bits sticking out of your braids. But yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll see. So yeah, moving out on Friday. The storage unit comes on Friday. I have no idea when I'm going to pack it because, again, I'm sick and I am a single woman and my boyfriend is across the country, so I guess we'll figure that out. Maybe my brother-in-law will help, but yeah, Thursday, birthday, Friday, packing all my life up. And then it'll be an air mattress for 2 weeks straight. Hopefully my cat doesn't pop it with his claws. That would be bad. And then we officially move out of the apartment on the 27th, which is next Tuesday. And then sister's birthday on the 2nd, and then leaving for some fun travel on the 3rd, slowly making my way to my next long-term lodging. And then we'll be there indefinitely. So expect background changes. I don't know if I'll pre-record videos. I feel like maybe I should. We'll figure it out. Thankfully, Commonplacing does not require much, and I will be bringing my printer with me because I don't think I can go that long without my printer, like in the car. So yeah, it's a lot of trying to figure out what I need to bring in the car with me, getting my entire life set up. All the doctor's appointments are done, all the cat appointments are done, everything is done, but it's coming at me real fast all of a sudden. So a little bit anxious, but like not in like, you know, we're good. So that's the life update. The other life update is that literally nothing has changed. I'm still in my cave of writing. I'm editing the second book now, and it's already impossibly long compared to the first and the third book, and it's getting longer. So we'll probably have to figure out some new way to divide these books and stories. If I might pause to actually talk about what I'm doing in this video instead of mumbling on to you. We are commonplacing about this tiara from like a very long time ago. You will probably have seen me try and put this in layouts in previous videos before, but I love this tiara. It's actually a diadem. I think from 1905. I might be pulling that out of my butt, but that sounds about right. 1901 or 1905. 1900 something for sure. Wow, my memory is really weird with what it can recall, but about that tiara, and then a little quote about girlhood and puberty and girlhood secrecy and how we girlies like to live in our own fantasy realm. And this layout actually ended up being a lot less cluttered and very different than what I had sat down and thought I would do. I had a long time figuring out like if this looked weird, if I wanted to layer different images, if I wanted to play with stickers, there was a lot going on of like, I feel like this looks boring. But then I was like, you know what, whatever, it's a little weird, but sure, let's go with it. Not my favorite spread in the end, but also like, I think it was good to try. It was a lot of handwriting. Everything else on the page, like what you see here is the images that end up there, and then the rest is handwritten, so it's a very handwritten heavy text page. And then it also ended up being like really deep for like no reason. I would be lying if I said I'm not in a reflective mood, but I don't know if it was like the ambient music I was listening to while I was making this, which was just like forest fantasy ambience, like literally nothing that I have not listened to before. For some reason, while journaling on this page, it did end up more journal entry and less commonplacey and quite deep. So I don't know if I'll share any of the finished images up close for you to like read. Nothing like super personal, I guess I could, like, if you want to be a creep, like I'm usually don't care, like go ahead, be a creep, I guess. Read my journal entries. You will find that I'm just a dramatic girl who thinks that she can write. I do not claim to be a poet. I'm really not good at poetry. I think any poetry, there's these things in writing, they're called aphorisms, and they're usually like 1 or 2 sentence prose. They're not poetry, they're prose. But they're like 1 to 2 sentences, and I remember we worked really hard on them in fiction 1 of the nonfiction classes in college, and one of my classmates who I really admired and thought was a very talented writer, I think they go by they, them pronouns now, so they commented and said that my aphorisms were like cheap Pinterest, which I needed to hear because they very much were. So I literally hold nothing against them. And again, it wasn't said with disdain. That sounds like a very mean critique now that I say it out loud, but like, I don't know, kind of needed to hear it. Hey, Pinterest quotes are for some girlies. That's the target audience for some of us. But yeah, not really good at poetry, not really good at aphorisms. I'm definitely like a long form girly through and through. I can write some good flash nonfiction though, but I need at least like 1,000 words. I'm talking really fast for someone whose throat hurts and is sick, but you know, that Aleve with that caffeine is probably kicking in. But anyway, this, yeah, you can read my journal entries. I just sound like a sappy, poetic, dramatic queen which I am. I'm very dramatic in my own head. I was gonna say unreasonable, but I'm not unreasonable. I'm just very lover girl, poetry in my head, fantasy, romantic in my own world. And that's kind of this quote that I did end up printing. It's an excerpt from The Second Sex, which then I looked at possibly reading the whole thing, but it has really mixed reviews and is like apparently dated feminism, and I'm not sure I'm ready for that. I have a long enough TBR already. But this quote like really stuck for me. It stuck with me and resonated so deeply. It is essentially about how like 13-year-old girls or 12-year-old girls kind of end up drawing inward and kind of creating this like fantasy self that they think is them. And then they think that they're misunderstood, so then they draw themselves even more inward and they like kind of live in their own kind of world and their own fantasy. And that really hit home for me because I am exactly the kind of girl that I'll put up on screen so maybe you can read it. But I am exactly the kind of girl that this quote is talking about. 12 was when everything kind of hit me in my family life. Because it's kind of the age where I started to be able to actually understand what I was going through and kind of like conceptualize it is the best way I can describe it. Is like it suddenly it wasn't just like I'm a child and I'm confused and I don't really know what's going on and what are all these adults talking about, what do they mean, what does this mean. 12 and 13 is where it kind of hit me. I was like, oh, this is happening and this is my life. And I'm right in the middle of this, and your girl needed an escape. So that is when I started writing these novels that I keep mentioning in my videos. The very first drafts were written when I was 12 and 13 in like 6th grade and 7th grade. And I used to hoard these journals and like, I did not let them go. Like they were with me nonstop. People weren't allowed to touch them. I slept with them. And it was this fantasy world. And honestly, those were some dark thoughts put on the page, and it was fiction. But if you've ever seen Disney's Read It and Weep, where she kind of creates this fiction world that's very, very heavily based on her real life, and essentially like character names are just like shifted, that's essentially what it was. I used to fantasize about running away as a kid. And so I wrote a novel where a girl runs away. And that very first draft is exactly what this quote is talking about, of like, I turn myself into a different character and I use this novel as a way to escape. It's very, very different from the first draft at this point. Like the concept is, I guess, the same. Like the girl runs away and the best friend also runs away, and they kind of, that dynamic unfolds. But that's exactly what I did. Is I just created this own world and then withdrew myself and became so isolated and in this fantasy world. And then didn't stop. I was able to put it down. Like, I mean, again, I've edited the books and they've gone through like a million drafts. And they're very different now, and I don't see myself as the main character as much anymore. Like, I truly believe that she's become like her own person, but she's still a part of me, right? She's not me, but she's a part of me. And she always will be, and all of those characters will be aspects of where I was growing up, all through high school. There's only like one character in the entire series that isn't like originally based off a human I know. And like, again, they're all so different now. They've gone through so many versions and edits and whatever that they are their own humans, and I don't really see the resemblance to who they were based off, like at all. Really, like at all. But there's one character that was not based off anything. That was just like my own kind of creation. And he's my favorite. He's my baby. Where was I going with this? What was the tangent about? Oh yeah. It's just a really like sappy kind of journal entry about how like this crown is also very fantastical, and this quote is talking about kind of creating your own reality and your own dream and living in your own world. And so it ended up being really deep for like no reason. Probably needed. I'm a strong believer that if you write something, or if you think something, or if an idea pops into your head and won't leave you alone, like everything is said for a reason. Sort of like spiritual channelers, how like people just talk about how sometimes something comes over them, or like if you've ever gone to a sermon and it feels like there's like an energy in the room and something has come over a pastor, or you're talking to someone and you just feel like something comes over you and like you just have to say something, or you just have to do something. That's how I am when I write. And so yeah, these Commonplace pages ended up very journal entry like and very heavy and deep, but that was just a signal that like, okay, I need to go journal now. So then I went and journaled about it, and yeah, it'll be interesting to reflect on. That's another thing also, since we are on that point. A reason I'm so interested and fascinated with the idea of commonplacing now and journaling is I'm going through a very important time in life, right? I'm moving away from my family. It's not the first time I've moved away from them, right? Like I went away for college, but I'm moving across the country, and I'm moving across the country for better or for worse, a boy. Like I'm doing the thing that you're not supposed to do, that they tell girls not to do. And I'm also just coming, like it's a big change, and there's like a lot going on. I'm finishing 2 years of therapy, like, so yeah, I'm journaling every day and it's really important to me. But the reason I decided I needed to do this, or that I wanted to include commonplacing and journaling more, is because the only journal, like singular journal I have to document, not really middle school, because that is my fiction book. Those first, I would probably glean more about what reality I was going through by reading that first draft of that novel, and just kind of separating what's fiction and from nonfiction and like that. But the only thing I have is when I decided to get into spirituality sophomore year of high school, and I have like, quote, my spirit journal. I talk about it in my like journal setup video if you want to watch it. And like every once in a while I go back and I reread that, and it's literally amazing. So amazing that like you can write seemingly random words on a piece of paper, and then like 5 years later you stumble across it and it's like exactly what you need to hear at that moment, and you're like, what? Like it's really weird and transcendental. So yeah, hoping that one day, 5 or 10 years from now, I'll be able to go back and reread this and be like, oh yeah, it all makes sense now, or like, oh, I needed to hear that, or I did know exactly what I was talking about. I just didn't know that I knew. So words are important, and you shouldn't filter yourself when you're journaling or you're commonplacing or you're whatever. Like if you are attached to something and you want to print it out and put it in a journal, you should do it. Doesn't matter if it's silly or stupid or whatever, like just do it, because you never know, like 5-10 years from now you could be like, yeah, that was actually really important and that really resonated. Hello again. It's the next day. After this tangent last night, I kind of had a sick induced weird tangent nonsense thing. Last time I was sick, I recorded a voiceover, same thing, at night while on medicine, very tired, and it did not go well. That video did not end up getting posted at all, but we're just gonna re-record this voiceover, or the second half. But I guess essentially I went on a weird tangent because I didn't have much to talk about, but I can talk to you guys now about what I'm reading, what I'm packing, stuff like that. So I picked up Braiding Sweetgrass. That was supposed to be my February nature-based read. It's going slower. I don't want to force myself to like rush through it. I think it's not a book that you're supposed to rush through, right? Nonfiction books are weird because, in my opinion, you're supposed to be able to pick them up and put them down, and pick them up and put them down, or only read the sections that you like know. So I'm trying to read it slowly and kind of just enjoy it. And then I'm rereading Dark of the West by Joanna Hathaway because I finally thrifted the third book in that series, Southern Sun, Northern Star, but it's been a while and I was like, I'm not gonna know what's happening, especially because there's like a lot of political intrigue. So I was like, I'm not gonna remember. So I started rereading the first book, and like it's good now. I feel like my memory is jogged. I feel like I might not even have to read the second book before diving into the third, because I remember what happens in the second book much more than I remembered what happened in the first book. The first book is very much kind of like a love story, and then the second book is very much like war. And I think it stood out to me a lot more, and I remember more of the plot twists, or I might honestly just read like the last few chapters of the second book, because that's when I think things started to escalate and get a little confusing. And definitely on my second read through, the kind of like the two timing and the political intrigue is a little bit easier to follow. Sort of just kind of like when you need to read a news article once or twice to really understand, or hear about something more than once to finally kind of like grasp it. I think I'm finally grasping it this time. So we'll see if I read the second book. I might read again like the last few chapters just to make sure I'm like caught up, because most of the book is just war. The main guy being a pilot and realizing war sucks and no one benefits from it, and then the princess trying to think that she can stop it when she can't. We love the princess, but she gets a little naive in the second book, a little hopeful. She's doing what she can though. She's trying. But then we'll pick up the third one, and I have a basket set aside for my Commonplace stuff, as you guys have seen, that I can take in the car with me and kind of have it easy to move. And now I'm filling up a basket. It's very not full of the books I want to read. I've picked out a few ebooks from the library that I can read over time, and then I think I'm going to pick up the Cruel Prince series when I get where I'm going or as I'm traveling. And I think I'm just going to hope I like it and buy the physical copies. Because if I don't like it, I can always donate it to a library or something like that, give it secondhand or something. So I just really don't like buying. Ever since I've fallen in love with the library, I don't really like buying books from like Barnes & Noble. I went ahead and bought Braiding Sweet Gas because, again, I've read the first few chapters of the ebook and I was like, I freaking love this. I need it. And I've had a couple books from the library that are on my list to buy physical copies of because I enjoyed them and I see myself rereading them. But I've bought too many books that I didn't like. Like The Secret History, I read like 3 chapters of. I cannot finish it. I should not have a physical copy of that book. I need to donate it, but it's holding up my monitor. So I'm really a fan of like library, and then I am a fan of thrift books and trying to get things secondhand. Others on my TBR are ACOTAR, and I think I'm probably just gonna buy a box set or those physical copies because I could see, I already know I'm gonna like those. Just kind of waiting to get around to it until I feel like I can dive into a multiverse and not come out, that sort of thing. But yeah, we're slowly packing. We're getting a little anxious about packing because I don't have a specific time that my cube is supposed to come, and I have a hair appointment. So I might have to ask my sister to be here, or just like pray that they're not there, that they don't need, I mean, it's empty unit, they're dropping it off in like a parking lot, right? And like the apartment managers know and everything, so maybe they won't need me. Hopefully they won't need me. Or we'll just hope that they don't come afternoon, because I have a hair appointment and I'm really excited about it, as I was talking about earlier in the voiceover. We'll figure it out. And then I'm an anxious, I don't have a lot of stuff, right? Like, I am sort of a minimalist. I have allowed myself to have many more possessions this year than I have before in terms of like books, and hobby supplies. But other than that, like, I'm a minimalist. Like, all of my clothes fit in one drawer, which is like baffling to most people. And then I have like a second drawer for like pajamas and workout stuff. But then like I don't need a closet. I really don't, which is baffling to people. And then like I've lived, ever since I left my parents' house for college, right? I've lived in a dorm, which was tiny. I lived in an apartment where it was one room, and then I had a kitchen table and maybe some kitchen stuff. And then like ever since then, I've only ever lived in one room. Like, I've lived in places where I'm not allowed to decorate the living room, or my apartment that I had sophomore year of high school, we didn't have a living room. Like, we turned the living room into my bedroom. Like, so I don't have like a couch. I don't have anything other than bedroom furniture. And so I don't, and then also I live out of baskets anyway. I like organization. So everything is already like in a box or in a basket. So it's really, really easy for me to move. It really is. It doesn't take me long. The hard part is just like the heavy furniture, like the dresser and the bed. Everything else, oh, and my desk. My desk is ridiculously heavy for no reason. It's like not even solid wood, and it's insanely heavy. But like those are, everything else I can move myself. I can move my TV stand, I can move my TV, I can move everything. And like, it's just all in baskets. So I always get really anxious and feel like I need to pack really early and beforehand. But I don't. I really don't. I can pack everything in like a day, and I've already started, right? So most of my stuff like that I'm not going to need is already packed, or like, again, it will not take me long to pack it. I'm gonna go to Target tomorrow and get like a few more of the like plastic storage bins, and then pack up the books that I'm not taking with me on the road. And then I think I'm just gonna start throwing things in boxes, because the rest is like miscellaneous. Or again, it's already like in a box and it doesn't really need, or a basket, it doesn't need very much. I have to pull out the clothes I'm gonna take with me and all that. But we are wrapping up this page. I hope you guys liked it. Let me know your thoughts. I know it's a little different than the spreads I normally do. Lots of handwriting. Let me know if you guys like if you, in your own commonplacing, in your own journaling, if you're like a handwriter, if you prefer to type, stuff like that. I always find it very interesting. But other than that, I hope you guys have an absolutely lovely, wonderful day, afternoon, evening, wherever and whenever you are, because you 100% deserve it, and I will see you next time.